Hi, welcome to Gene Rants. I'm Gene, and today's going to be a good news day. Today being Friday, you're seeing this on Monday. I am hoping that you're having a good news day on Monday and that you had a good news day on Friday and Saturday and Sunday. Anyways, good news day today, two news items. Well, at least if you're a conservative, it's a good news day. Now, actually, one of the items, well, before we get to the main subject that's in the title, there's another piece of good news, but this is definitely not so good news if you're a Democrat. You may have heard that or read that Virginia was your typical Democrat who ran as a moderate, and once she became governor, she went hard left. I don't know why it's taking people so long to learn this lesson. When you vote, you can't believe a Democrat who runs, well, maybe John Fetterman, somebody like that, if they have a history of moderation. Anyways, the point is that she actually spoke out again. She was asked about whether Virginia should redistrict to give Democrats more seats in the House, and she definitively spoke against it. Now she's governor, and she got put on the ballot a state constitutional amendment to redistrict. This proposal would have changed from, well, there are 11 congressional districts right now, so 6 Democrat, 5 Republicans, and it would have been 10 Democrat and only 1 Republican. In other words, give Democrats four more seats. So well, the good news is, and by the skin of their teeth, the skin of the Republicans' teeth, they won a really stunning victory. It was a 4-3 vote that's how close it was in the Supreme Court. But the Virginia Supreme Court struck down that new map, said they did not follow the proper procedures for which they didn't. If you're going to amend the Constitution, what you're supposed to do in Virginia is it has to be over two consecutive elections. In other words, you have to vote for it once and then second election, years later, and then then the amendment would become law. But she didn't do that, or it was just to change it immediately. And she said to make it fair, to temporarily for only 3 years in 2030 to ensure fairness, which the irony is that Virginia has a non-party. This is one of the things that the Supreme Court noted, that the Virginia has a nonpartisan committee that sets these districts, so there are no politics, no gerrymandering. It reflects the population, and this proposal, this amendment, overrode that. So the court struck it down. The point is, I don't want to dwell too much on this. The point is that the Republicans would have lost 4 House seats based on voting patterns, and now you've been seeing this redistricting all over the country, and now Republicans, there's some more still to be done to be voted on. It was just recently, the other day before I'm recording this, actually, the governor of Tennessee, where I live, signed a bill into law to redistrict, to get rid of the one. Now there are no Democrat congressional districts in Tennessee. Full disclosure, because I happen to live in that one district that was a Democrat district. Steve Cohen, one of the most, if not the most liberal representatives, was my representative. No more. I'm going to have a Republican representative, it looks like. And so, full disclosure, this personally benefits me. If you keep wondering about my objectivity on that, so full disclosure, this benefits me personally. But across the whole country, the only one I can think of is California redistricted to add 5, presumably, if voting patterns hold, it will add 5 Democrat seats, and that's the only one that that the Democrats have managed to do, whereas the Republicans could be on track now to gain 14 seats in the House, which will obviously help them very much in the midterm. So there's something to be hopeful. That is the good news. But now the second good news, this is the main subject for today. There was, full disclosure, again, I cannot stand J.D. Vance. I think he would be a terrible president, and he has been ahead in the betting markets and in polls as the nominee. And if he's the Republican nominee, I'm going to, especially if it's Kamala Harris, but really any Democrat, I'm going to have to vote for J.D. Vance. But Marco Rubio he's been suddenly, there's a kind of the press that is so hostile to everybody, as I said in yesterday's vlog, I believe, so hostile to everybody in the Trump administration, not, of course, Trump himself. They are surprisingly positive and fair towards Rubio. And every time he speaks and every time just watching his job, he is extremely competent. He would make an excellent president. He is somebody, and if you want to get political, and for you Democrats out there and you want to be ethnic about it, he's Cuban. So he's going to get the Cuban vote. He's going to get probably the Hispanic vote, or he'll do well with Hispanics. And so if he gets the nomination, I am confident that Marco Rubio will be the next president of the United States. Now, what is triggering this? What caused the betting markets, the political betting markets suddenly to switch? This is what happened. He gave, you know what, let's go right to the headline. It explains it, and then I'm going to show you what the headline is about. So, Rubio surges in 2028 betting markets after press briefing. Looking back to Marco Rubio and Donald Trump's contentious sparring in the 2016 Republican primary debates, few would have guessed that Rubio would, in a future election, be the favorite in a race where Trump's endorsement will likely mean victory in the 2028 primary. However, in the latest betting market odds, Rubio is now the favorite to win the 2028 general election. So not just the primary, but the election, as I just said. The impetus for this latest surge in support for Rubio was his press briefing Tuesday, when he filled in for Caroline Leavitt, who was on maternity leave. The most viral question to come out of the briefing was one in which a reporter asked Rubio what his hope for America was. With the eloquence of a pre-recorded speech, he responded, each generation has left the next generations of Americans freer, more prosperous, safer, and that is our goal as well. The video was then clipped by Rubio himself and turned into what looks very similar to a campaign ad. Now, let's look at the ad.
I got to ask you, what is your hope for America at a time such as this?
My hope for America? And my hope for America is what it's always been. I think it's the hope I hope we all share. We want it to continue to be the place where anyone from anywhere can achieve anything, where you're not limited by the circumstances of your birth, by the color of your skin, by your ethnicity, but frankly, it's a place where you are able to overcome challenges and achieve your full potential. I think that should be the goal of every country in the world, but I think in the U.S., we're not perfect. Our history is not one of perfection, but it's still better than anybody else's history. And ours is a story of perpetual improvement. Each generation has left the next generation of Americans freer, more prosperous, safer, and that is our goal as well. And as we come upon this 250-year anniversary, I think we have a lot to learn and be proud of in our history. It is one of perpetual and continuous improvement, where each generation has done its part to bring us closer to fulfilling the vision that the founders of this country had upon its founding.
Really nothing to add to what I just showed you in that video. That is, to me, that is a future president of the United States. But to be more practical about it, or mercenary about it, I don't want Vance to be president of the United States, and he will be if somebody doesn't take his place. And Rubio said a long time ago that he had no chance for running, no desire to run for president in 2028. I hope this will change his mind. And the way, as the article said, that what you just saw, that video, it looks a lot like a campaign ad. And you can see what, if he did run, what fantastic campaign ads he Could have, especially, well, against any Democrat. He would, bottom line, your comments are, of course, always welcome. I want to hear from all of you, but I would think he would be an excellent president. He would just be an excellent, you just watch him, listen to him. He is the one who, I mean, better than Trump. Trump is not that great at talking about issues either, but Rubio is fantastic. He talks, he discusses all the issues. He's very bright, very smart, knows all the issues. Any press conference that you see him in, he is just, he's always on his toes. He is always fantastic. And then to the icing on the cake, being interviewed by hostile interviewers on TV, on Meet the Press or whatever, Face the Nation. He just knocks it out of the park. I just can't speak too highly of him, and I'm going to just sound like a broken record just over and over. Rubio 2028, Rubio 2028, Rubio 2028, and Gene, for right now, as far as happy to hear your comments. That's it for today. If you could subscribe, that would really be great. Share this video with anyone you think would benefit from it. But most of all, come back and see me again. I'd love to see all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.